Hey everybody. Well, looks like Harvey has got a beeline for the Texas coast. Could be a really catastrophic event. Well, 25 years ago, I lived through one of the most catastrophic events in this nation's history. I nearly died. And this is my story time. Well, August 24th, 1992. A day I'll never forget, and many other South Floridians will never forget. 25 years ago today. And it's a story of survival, of triumph, and of failure. Failure by our government, triumph for many people here in South Florida who overcame extreme odds to succeed and get back their lives to normal. But also, it was tragic. There were people that didn't make it, and I nearly didn't make it. The storm was bad enough. In my neighborhood, it was called back then Cutler Ridge. It was just a neighborhood. It was since incorporated after the storm. I think in the late 90s they incorporated it to call it Cutler Bay, but it was called Cutler Ridge at the time I lived there. And you can look at the house itself, the rebuilt house. You can even tell that it's rebuilt, because my house was the most damaged on my block. My house happened to be the most damaged. The address is 19601 Belmont Drive, Cutler Bay, Florida. You can look it up on Google Maps. That's not the actual address, but that's the address that shows up on Google Maps. The actual address is 19603, but for whatever reason, 19601, and it comes up on the house. It's an orange colored house with a circular driveway in it now. Did not have a circular driveway when I owned it, but it does now. The storm started around midnight, August 24th. That was a Monday morning. Sunday had been the 23rd. Monday was the 24th. And right at midnight, just as it turned to Monday, that's when we first started getting rains. And the winds started about 1:30. We were starting to get sustained tropical storm force winds of 35 to 40 miles an hour. They crescendoed and built up and kept on building. About 2:30 in the morning is when we lost power, or I lost power. I tried to get my parents to come to my house because they said it was going to go through central Dade County. The storm had different ideas. It slightly veered south, and my parents made the right decision to stay in this house up here in the Westchester area. I lived down in, and as I said, down in Cutler Ridge, and I'll show you the relationship of where I lived to downtown Miami. As you can see, it's about 26 miles south of downtown Miami. But Miami's a very elongated city against the coast. It doesn't go that far deep, about 15 miles or so deep, but it's about 40 miles long. So Miami's a very, it's built right on the coast. As the storm progressed, I ended up, and the lights had gone out, but I had lamps, and so I could, kind of still see. And I had a transistor radio, so I could listen. But it started getting really rough. You could see how rough it was about 3 o'clock to 3:30 in the morning, somewhere between them, because I didn't have a watch on and I don't know the exact time, but it was between 3 and 3:30, I would guess. My doors, my front doors, which did not have shutters, and that was a mistake I made, that most people made, and we all learned our lesson on that. They started you could see them bending in like this, breathing. Your front doors breathing. How's that for you? You could see the windows on the north side of the house. Because as the storm was coming in like this, or like that rather, the wind in the first half of the storm was coming from the north, because the storm was coming directly west, and the storms go counterclockwise. So the winds were coming from the north. And it was really getting bad on that north side. And so I decided to take a mattress I had in a sleeper sofa I had in my living room and take it to my half bathroom that I had in the front part of the house over where the kitchen was. It was right across from the kitchen, and it was a small little parlor bath room, you know, just a sink and a commode, no bathing facilities. And it was attached to, behind it was where the washing machine and the dryer were hooked up in a little washroom that was down that hallway. And then there was a little closet at the end, and then there was the Florida room behind it. The den, the Florida room, the den. I went into that bathroom, closed the door. Jack, Junior and I, my other dog that I had at the time, he was a rescue dog just like Jack. He was scared. I mean, I'd never seen him scared like that. He was always a tough dog, but he was visibly shaking. He did not know what was going on, and the noise was getting so loud from the, it started to sound just like a freight train. And we got in that bathroom, threw the mattress over us, and we hung on to the commode for life, as I could hear my house ripping apart at the seams. And not more than 10 minutes after I got in that bathroom, the whole roof, or at least the part of the roof where I was, just chunked away, just was ripped right out. And then the wind started coming down in, and you could feel the wind coming down, and I'm holding the mattress down like this for my life, and I can't even hold the commode anymore. And I've got my dog underneath me, and I'm holding onto the mattress like this, and then this end started flapping up and down, and so I'm doing like this, and that hurt, because I had to hold that for about an hour before we got to the eye. And it really got rough just before the eye, because that's when we were in the eye wall. And they estimated that in my neighborhood we had sustained winds of over 160 miles an hour, about 165, and there were gusts in those 165 mile an hour sustained winds of over 200. That's what they say. Nobody ever knows. All I know is about 12 miles north of there, at the National Hurricane Center, when it used to be in Coral Gables on Dixie Highway, right across the street from the University of Miami, they had a gust where the winds peaked out there at one gust of 164 miles an hour. That was 12 miles away. And even though you would think, wow, this is a large storm, actually Hurricane Andrew was a very compact, small storm. Hurricane force winds only went out about 30 miles in each direction from the center of the storm. Most hurricanes, it's 60 plus miles in each direction from the center of the storm. So this was a very small, compact hurricane. Thank God for Dade County, because it was horrific enough. Well, at halftime, I'll say it in sports form, during the eye, it is just a surreal feeling, because it goes from extreme wind, I mean the most extreme wind of the storm, to nothing. A calm in about 30 seconds. Weirdest thing you'll ever, and you can also feel the pressure drop. Your ears will pop, because that's when you've got to the eye where the pressure is so low that nothing can exist in it. And according to the records, the eye was somewhere down around 922 millibars, pardon me. 922 millibars, which is extraordinarily low. A normal day is about 1,010, and so we were down at 922 millibars. The worst hurricane of all time, Katrina, got down to about 906 millibars, and Hurricane Wilma, which was later that year, and when it hit Mexico, was the all-time lowest at 899 millibars, which is unbelievable. I couldn't get out during the eye. The eye lasted, I was in the northern part of the eye, I wasn't in the middle. I was in the northern part of the eye, and it lasted about 10 minutes, this calm. And then it picked up the other way. And so the wind is going, instead of coming from the north, this time it's coming from the south, because you're getting the backside of the storm. So here we go again, holding on for dear life with the mattress, and I can't get out, and I was so upset about that. Nothing you can do about it, though. Storm went through another 2 hours, and about 6:30 to 7 o'clock, you could feel that the storm was ramping down. It was still raining pretty hard, but the winds had gone down to maybe 30 to 40 miles an hour. And I wanted to try to get out again, and I did, and I was able to come out. And what I saw was pretty heartbreaking. I had there was basically none of my furniture and my things, memories that I had with my wife, memories that we had collected, even childhood memories. Never found, couldn't find them. They weren't even in the neighborhood anymore. You'd built everything up your whole life. You tried to be a good person. And you ask yourself, God, why did you do this to me? First, you took my wife away from me. And now you take all my memories away from me. And everything that you thought you'd worked for, and you'd done right things, you'd gone to church, you tried to be a good Christian person, and you start questioning God. I hate you, God. I hate you. You did this to me. Why did you do this to me? Not understanding that the world is the world, and God lets the world be the world. And you got to understand His ways to understand why He allows things like this to happen. There is a reason for it. We don't know all of the reasons and all the ways of it, but it is what it is. I don't mean to get religious here, so I'll go back to my story. But When I came out, there was not a window or a door that was still intact in there. They were all blown out. The north wall had collapsed. And that's what allowed the infrastructure to allow the roof to be ripped off from the north. And it was ripped off, and we found pieces of it in the houses next door and the house down on, like over a block area. About 6 houses we could find pieces of my house. You had nothing else to do during the day, by the way, but go and collect things or try to collect things that belong to you. My car was turned upside down on its hood, just like everybody else on the block. Theirs was either on their sides, on their roofs like this, or they were so severely damaged by things hitting the cars that they were undrivable. So everybody was stuck on our block. Then the biggest nightmare maybe of all started, and that was there was absolutely no law whatsoever. If you don't think that government serves a real purpose, you've never lived through the aftermath of a Category 5 hurricane, of a real major disaster. There was no law. There was no fire rescue. There was no television. There was no telephone. There was no electricity. There were no fans. This is August 20. Sorry about that. I have a limit, and I guess I hit my limit for my video, so I got to start it over. I'll pick up where I was. That's frightening, and it turned out to be extremely frightening. I was the only one that had a shotgun. There was one other guy that had a pistol, and we had to gather forces and be our own government for about 8 days until the federal government finally came through. And there were some sailors that had come from the Pacific Northwest. I don't know where they were stationed anymore. I've forgotten the name of it, but it was some place that was up in Washington State that I believe was closed shortly after the storm. And we had no water. People's stashes of food and so forth were severely damaged, a lot of them. We couldn't find. I knew I had cans of tuna and cans. I had a couple of loaves of bread. I had stuff that, we could have used to eat, but we couldn't find it. It wasn't in my kitchen. My kitchen was cleaned out, man. It was completely run over. Like it was run over by a train. And we had to use those guns. And that's where my survival. We had people coming into our area trying to loot. People that were desperate. People that had no law, and they were hungry, and they wanted to eat. But we wanted to eat too, and we wanted to survive. And that's what a Category 5 hurricane can do to people. Devastate them and turn them back into savage animals, because that's what we are at heart. We are not dignified humans. When we have to be taken back to our basic instincts of survival, we become vicious. And that's what happened. And watching guard one night, I had to shoot somebody. My life was threatened. I was standing my guard. I was standing for myself. And I'm not proud of that. But I had to do what I had to do. And that, my friends, is something I have to live with every day. But he had a gun, and he was coming for me. And that's my story time of survival. My neighborhood, by the way, did not have electricity or telephone for almost 7 months following the hurricane. Think about that. It was so bad, every single pole had to be replaced for miles in each direction. Every substation had to be rebuilt because the saltwater intrusion, because I was so close to the water, I was about a quarter of a mile from Biscayne Bay. Well, it was more like, well, it's like almost half a mile from Biscayne Bay. And the substation, why it was built there, I don't know. But it was built almost right on the bay. And so the storm surge had come in, and there was not a big storm surge for whatever reason with Hurricane Andrew. They expected one. It was south of me down at the Deering Estate. Now I'm going to show you a map here that will show you how the storm came in. Now I want to remind you of my address, 19603. Look here at the donut, as we call it, that was the core of Hurricane Andrew. And you'll see where 188th Street was, and you'll see down below where 288th Street is. Well, if I'm 196, you can see how close I was to that 188. And that, my friends, you see that dark, dark red circle? That is the core of the eye wall of the hurricane. And that is where those extreme winds are. And that is what came over my house. This has been a long video, but I think a necessary video. I needed to get this out. I've been dreading this day, and it was a tough day. It was a very difficult day to get through. May God have mercy on me and my sins. I still feel I was defending my life and that I took action first before I could be shot and killed. So I don't know how that's going to play out. But I've asked for forgiveness, and I hope that it's understood and that my name appears in the book of life. All right, my friends. May the Lord have mercy on us all, and may He have mercy on the people of the Texas coast, because they're going to get walloped in the next couple of days. This could be a very catastrophic event for Texas and for this country. Let's see how our country responds. Hopefully it's better than they did right after Andrew, because it took a while for the federal government and for the private sector to start helping South Florida. And it took years for us to recover. What's up, Jack? Oh, he must have been asleep. That was a sleep yell. All right, guys. Take it easy, and I'll talk at you later. Bye, y'all. Oh, take it easy, teasy, and peasy. Bye, y'all.
rescue.